Success and suffering. Most people see these as opposites. But what if the path to true success actually requires going through intense hardship? The story of Joseph challenges everything. We think we know about what it means to be blessed.
That's fascinating, especially how the text emphasizes the Lord was with Joseph 4 times, yet his circumstances were absolutely terrible. We're talking about slavery and prison here.
You know what's really mind blowing? This wasn't just a brief setback. We're looking at 13 years of continuous trials. Most of us can barely handle waiting a few days for an Amazon delivery.
Hmm. And this was happening to a 17-year-old kid suddenly thrown into a completely foreign culture. The psychological impact must have been intense.
Well, that's exactly what makes his response to Potiphar's wife so remarkable. Here's this young guy finally gaining some stability, and this powerful woman starts making aggressive advances. Instead of giving in, he frames his refusal in terms of his relationship with God.
And he was practical about it too. He didn't just rely on willpower. He actually avoided being alone with her. That's some serious emotional intelligence for someone so young.
You know what's particularly fascinating? Every single one of these hardships was actually preparing him for his future role. In Potiphar's house, he learned Egyptian customs and household management. In prison, he basically got a crash course in Egyptian administrative systems.
So what you're saying is that what looked like setbacks were actually stepping stones?
Exactly. And here's the thing: during those 13 years, Joseph had absolutely no idea he would eventually become second in command of Egypt. He was just trying to survive each day, not realizing he was in leadership training.
Well, that really challenges our modern notion of success, doesn't it? We tend to measure success by likes, followers, and quarterly profits.
Oh man. And speaking of success, let's talk about that devastating moment with the cupbearer. Joseph interprets his dream correctly, makes this heartfelt plea to be remembered, and then nothing. 2 more years of silence.
That must have felt like the ultimate ghosting experience, except his freedom literally depended on it.
Right. And here's what's really interesting. During all this time, God was orchestrating a plan to save not just Joseph, but his entire family and preserve his chosen people through a devastating famine.
Hmm. But Joseph had no way of knowing any of that during those years of slavery and imprisonment.
That's what makes this story so relevant today. We're all so focused on immediate results, instant gratification. But sometimes the most significant growth happens in those long waiting periods, those dark valleys where nothing seems to make sense.
Like how God often works in paradoxes. Joseph had to become a slave before he could become a ruler.
And you know what's really profound? His suffering wasn't random bad luck. It was actually part of a much bigger plan. But here's the kicker: he had to trust God without knowing the end of the story.
That's quite different from how we usually think about faith and blessing, isn't it?
Um, Absolutely different. We often think being blessed means everything goes smoothly. But Joseph's story shows us that sometimes God's greatest blessings come disguised as setbacks. It's like spiritual jujitsu, using the enemy's attacks as stepping stones to victory.
Well, that's a perspective shift that could really help people going through difficult times today.
You know, in the end, it all comes down to trust. Not just believing that God exists, but believing that He's good and working for our benefit, even when everything around us suggests otherwise. That's the kind of faith that can sustain us through our own 13-year journeys.